Hey there guys, how are you? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to my review of The Dark Knight as a part of the Christopher Nolan series. And for this review I had to bring in the cavalry, so I asked my good buddy Roberto to hop on the pod, and it was a ton of fun. Big thanks to Roberto and Alex, also a good friend of mine, for hopping on the show. The podcast was a ton of fun, and I'll go ahead and post a link to that down in the description box down below. But for right now, here's the review. Enjoy. Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And, well, for this very special review for the Christopher Nolan series, this is such a classic that I had to bring in the cavalry for this one. And let me tell you something. I have got the guest today. So, please welcome, yes, this is this is big, guys. Please welcome the one and only Capes Crusader, Batman. Where is he?
Alfred, how do you turn this thing on? Is it on yet?
Wait, Batman. Hold on. It's on. It's on already, Batman.
Oh,
Just sit down. Hold on. There he is. There he is. It's Capes Crusader. How's it going?
I mean, over here in Gotham, it's not going so well, but you guys have COVID up there, so.
Yes, in fact we do. In fact we do. So, I brought you on to review probably your best movie, The Dark Knight, I would say.
Well, I think they're all good, but
they're all good. They're all good. But I just have one little condition that I have for you before we begin. I'll review this movie, Bat, but you're gonna have to unmask yourself before you do.
this wasn't in my contract, but I like it, so.
All you gotta do is take off the mask.
I don't usually do this on the first date, but it's me.
Oh, there he is. So it's my real guest, Roberto. How's it going?
Pretty good. I was gonna have to put on my glasses because I'm actually blind as a bat.
It's all good. It's all good. Bats. I don't know, but yeah. So here we are. Very special podcast. Very excited to talk to you. It's been a minute. It's been a minute.
Over a year, yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
I think so. Yeah. Ever since we wrapped up the Batman show at our school, and that's he still has the costume.
Most of it, yeah.
Most of it, yeah, for sure.
Good parts.
Yeah, but we'll get into all those fancy schmancy stuff later. But tonight we're going to be reviewing probably Christopher Nolan's greatest film ever, probably the greatest Batman film ever, in my opinion, The Dark Knight. Of course, also written by Nolan. It stars a bunch of talented people. Christian Bale, he had that voice there.
A few.
just a few. But first impressions, like, just off the cuff, what do you think of this?
I mean, I feel like this is the benchmark for the DC cinematic universe, or I'd say for superhero movies in general. This is like a movie that has grit. It has like the punch, the gravitas, if you will, in the characters. It's not just some over the top silly movie. You feel the tension. You feel what's at stake in the universe that they're in, right? So for me, this is like I said, it's the benchmark for superhero movies. So needless to say, I think very highly of this movie. Yeah, I loved it.
Me too. I definitely agree with everything you just said. It brings Batman more, as if Batman Begins didn't already. Christopher Nolan returns to direct this one, and Batman is more grounded than ever, and there's a lot of moral questions that are brought up with this movie that I don't think any other superhero movie before 2008 has ever done. Like,
no,
go ahead.
So. Yeah, it's we'll get into it, but some of the moral dualities that are at play here between Harvey Dent and the mind, I guess, just conviction to not kill anyone, right? And then you throw in the ball of chaos that is the Joker, and it's just it's what do you do sometimes, you know? It's a lot of moral questions, like you said.
Absolutely, yeah. So basically, just as a so real quick, spoiler warning in case you have not seen The Dark Knight. In which case, I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to sit here and judge. But the movie's 12 years old.
I will.
Go ahead and I mean, the movie's on Blu-ray. It's like it's everywhere. Just go ahead and pop this thing in. Go ahead and watch it, and then come back and we'll talk a little bit more detail. But basically, the main plot line is Batman or Bruce Wayne. I just gave away his secret identity. He does not like that. But yeah, played by Christian Bale once again. He's been able to basically keep a tight lid on crime in Gotham City since we last saw him in Batman Begins. Along with his allies, Lieutenant Gordon, Gary Oldman, fantastic once again. And DA Harvey Dent, played in this one by Aaron Eckhart. He's basically formed a little alliance with them. But a vile young criminal comes along called the Joker. And he's played by Heath Ledger in this one. And he suddenly throws the town into all this unadulterated anarchy and chaos. Or chaos, as he likes to say. And basically, like we just talked about, the Caped Crusader starts to begin to try to find line between heroism and vigilantism. And yeah, this is... Oh man, where do we even begin? Do you want to just like... do you want to start with the performances and the all that good stuff?
Sure. So I think, I mean, obviously Christian Bale has the first movie under his belt, so he's well set into the role. He knows what's expected of him, and I feel like he really brings it in this in the sequel. I mean, you have other characters like or supporting characters like Lucius Fox, obviously Morgan Freeman, and Michael Caine, who are just they're man, I don't know. They're some of my favorite characters just because of the one-liners that they always have, and they just keep Bruce in check, right?
Yeah.
And they provide a little bit of humor in an otherwise extremely dark, environment or movie that he finds himself in. Then you have obviously the incredible performance that was put on by Heath Ledger as the Joker.
Oh man.
You know, it was just. I mean, obviously there's debate about the new Joker that was separate from this universe and previous ones before him. Like I'm assuming like James Bond. You know, like which one's the favorite? But I feel like Heath Ledger's is for me at the very tippy top. Just because you absolutely believe him. Like I don't even see Heath Ledger. I just see the Joker, right?
Right.
With Bruce Wayne, I can see the actor. With the Joker, I just see the Joker. Sometimes I don't even see Heath Ledger, right? So I feel like to me that's, you know, what else do you need in a performance?
Yeah. And that's often the thing people remember the most about The Dark Knight is Heath Ledger's performance. But I want to cut back a little bit to when we're talking about Christian Bale. I honestly think he's quite overlooked in this movie because of the Joker in some ways. He was magnificent once again. And just like you mentioned, I mean, I can see Christian Bale. I can still see him playing that smarmy billionaire, like businessman type character, similar to Patrick Bateman in American Psycho, which is another one I love. Christian Bale is one of my favorites. But like you said, he also has Alfred, played once again masterfully by Michael Caine. The favorite one-liner that I wrote down, a ruby, the size of a tangerine.
My favorite is like, oh, you want? He's like, where is it saying I want to be subtle or something, and he's like, oh, the Lamborghini then, much more subtle.
God, and you know what? You know what's funny is I can't really picture anyone else but Michael Caine playing this role either. It's
not more now.
Yeah, you have Jeremy Irons who did it in Batman v Superman, which is another topic for another time. But Michael Caine just embodies Alfred so well. And I'm also so stupid for not bringing this up in my last Batman review, but Morgan Freeman, once again as Lucius Fox, so awesome. But again, very, very recognizable as Morgan Freeman. Like, I've seen this guy before everywhere. And it's not to say it's a bad performance by any stretch. But let's get to what everybody remembers about this movie, the Joker. He was absolutely terrifying. And just like you said, Heath Ledger disappeared into the performance. Like, I know back in, like, 2007 when this casting was first announced, a lot of people were skeptical. Like, oh, the guy from... Oh, where is it? It's the guy from this movie, 10 Things I Hate About You. This guy's the Joker. It's like... You know, people were questioning it so much, and then they watched it in the theater, and they were just like, we were wrong the entire time. Heath Ledger brings such a unique level of deranged to the Joker that Jack Nicholson didn't bring in the Tim Burton ones. And Jack Nicholson's an amazing performer, but Heath Ledger just brought it to a whole nother level. There were so many memorable scenes with him.
Yeah, of course. Jack Nicholson, I mean, obviously The Shining, right? That's like the epitome of a deranged character. So you know he's got it in there, but I guess just the direction that Tim Burton wanted him to go, it doesn't, I mean, it doesn't have the same like psychopathic kind of vibe that Heath Ledger's has. And like I've said before, you know, you just believe it from the get-go. Like the opening heist scene where it's in broad daylight, you know, so you're all of a sudden you're like, okay, this guy cares not, you know, he doesn't care about any rules. He's just gonna rob this huge bank and blow up walls, crash through with a school bus, broad daylight, doesn't matter. He's gonna do it. And like Alfred said, or Michael Caine, you know, he just wants to watch the world burn. And then there comes that whole morality aspect into it again, where he, unlike the mobsters that, you know, he kind of pokes fun at, he doesn't care about money. He doesn't care about any sort of status whatsoever. He just wants to put some anarchy, some chaos into the mix, right? And just see what happens. He's like what Harvey Dent says. He's a mad dog. He just wants to chase after the cars and see what happens, right? You know, even if you caught him, like what are you gonna do to him? There's, like he said in the prison scene, you can't threaten me with anything. What are you gonna do to me, right? Like if you're gonna kill me, go ahead. You know, he plays chicken with Batman on the when he's on the, I don't know what you call it, the motorcycle, the bat cycle, whatever.
Yeah, and these chase scenes, man, these chase scenes were so awesome. And exactly to your point, that opening scene with the Joker in broad daylight, actually just thinking about, like, while you were talking there, just thinking about it, that's such an amazing contrast, because we know Batman as a night owl, and the Joker's just doing all this stuff in broad daylight without a care in the world. And I feel like this Joker was wanting to do these things because he just simply loves to do wrong. You know, it's like reaching nirvana for him. You know, he reminded me a lot of Alex in A Clockwork Orange in that sense, like just doing things for the sake of causing chaos. And like we were talking about earlier, just so many memorable scenes. That opening heist scene, of course, you have the "Why So Serious" monologue that he has, where he has the pencil in the guy's mouth. My buddy Francisco always did that monologue when we were auditioning in high school theater, because, I mean, it's not just because it's a fun piece to perform, but there's so much, like, relevance still behind it. And the Joker really, Heath Ledger does a great job bringing all those questions to the forefront while also being really funny and really terrifying. How about that handheld murder scene, that handheld camera?
Oh yes, yeah. Just I love the way that they, like, I mean, amplify his voice to almost like a growl, right? Just to amp up the terror just a little bit more. And it's, I mean, you laugh a little bit, but you're terrified while you're doing so, right?
Yeah, it's when he's blowing up the Gotham General Hospital near the beginning of the third act after he meets Harvey Dent and all that. So demented, but it's so funny. I have just rewatching that scene, I have a feeling a lot of that was improvised. Like,
you mean like the clicker part where he blows it up?
Yeah, like he was having trouble with the clicker. Like there could
I'm pretty sure that was just off the cuff. I think the explosive rig didn't go off like he was supposed to, but he just stayed in character and played it off, and you know, that was even better for the character. So amazing. How about that climax that he brings on? He poses so many moral juxtapositions where, you know, he tries to put a mirror to the society that, you know, think, oh yeah, you know, if posed with a problem, I would always do what's right. Well, you know, we'd like to think that, but sometimes, you know, because a life is at stake in the case of Detective Ramirez or Officer Ramirez, where she was like, well, you know, they had my mother or something like that, you know, what else was I going to do? So your right and wrong go out the window as soon as, you know, things are at stake. And for the Joker, he's just like wants to, again, just cause chaos and see how people are going to react. And unfortunately for him, in that boat scene, nobody did it, which was a good thing to see, right? Yeah. But yeah, it's still, I mean, even though they didn't do it, both both boats, both the people in both boats were torn.
Yeah.
The guy that was like, you know what, you guys are wussies, I'm gonna do it, and then couldn't, right? Just because it's not so easy taking a life, right? And just all those moral what
the moral questions, I suppose, like the dilemmas that the Joker brings up. And that's honestly another really terrifying thing about the Joker in this movie. Like, just under pressure, what the common man will do with a threat like this is just terrifying. Like, you mentioned that guy on the, there's two boats. So for those of you who haven't seen the movie, the climax is Batman is trying to save all these people. And the Joker is at the top of this, like, really tall building. And Batman has to literally go floor by floor to get to him. It's almost like a video game. But one boat has just your normal everyday civilians, and then your other boat has a bunch of prisoners who were just released, or they're getting transferred or something. And the Joker is like, listen, each boat has a detonator. Whoever sets it off first blows up the other one, and then the other one just goes off and gets off scot-free. If nobody does it, I'm gonna blow both of you guys up, and all of you will be dead. You know, just all that, just it's just a white knuckle climax for sure. I can't praise this movie enough, obviously, but he's not the only villain in this movie. We also get Two-Face, played by Aaron Eckhart. And I honestly, hand up, I completely forgot that Harvey Dent and Rachel were in a relationship in this movie. On a rewatch, I was just like, okay, that makes more sense why Harvey Dent is here. But it's, oh man, Aaron Eckhart was so good. Like, he did a coin flip in the courtroom, like when he was still the good guy, I suppose. And I was just like, oh, that foreshadowing.
Yeah, so I really liked his character. I mean, from the get-go, I feel like you can see the duality that is to come later, where he's like this, he wants to be this suave guy for Rachel, right? Very like, oh yeah, I'm a badass, but then wants to be just the white knight that they deem him to be for all of Gotham, right? And he's very rigid in his ideals, right? To a fault, rather.
Very stubborn.
Exactly. You know, he wants to be fair, right? Doesn't matter if people die, if he himself dies, as long as it's fair, hey, it's fair, right? You can't argue with fairness, or at least that's what he says or argues. And then when he becomes Two-Face, that just gets, you know, turned up to 11. Where at the coin flip, you know, before he made his own luck, now it's actually because the coin isn't the same anymore. Now it's really, you could die on a coin flip.
Yep, other people's luck is put in jeopardy here. And like, just the fact that he is causing as much chaos as the Joker once he becomes Two-Face is just, and the makeup and everything, like once he becomes that character, it's just so, it's brutal. And also the scene where he actually does become Two-Face and like half of it is burnt off, and I'm like, oh man, that's
but I think that's what the Joker wanted, right? He wanted to show that the paragon of society, even him, could be turned into the opposite, the exact opposite, right? Yeah, like you're saying in that scene where he, where the other side of his face is shown, right then and there, he says, he starts raising his voice and having that same kind of growl that we were talking about earlier, Joker having in the cam footage scenes, where he's saying, say the nickname that they used to have, right? Two-Face Harvey or something like that. And he's like, say it, right? And you're like, whoa, this is not the same guy, right? So, but yeah, that the CGI that they did on his face, it reminds me of like infinitely better version of the Mummy from, like, you know, the original, like the the guy, not Dennis Quaid, I can't remember his name.
It was, I think it was, oh man, that was Brendan Fraser. That's who it was. Yeah. It was.
Yeah. So with that, where the Mummy has, like, you know, all this, like, you could see the strands of muscle and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. But obviously, much higher quality here. But yeah, it really puts into your right on the forefront that, again, that duality that I was talking about in his character. Obviously, you know,
he's torn. He's torn because Rachel had just been killed. Spoiler alert, Rachel dies in this movie, guys, in case you didn't know. And honestly, I forgot that on the rewatch, like going in. I was like, man, Rachel's dead. Okay. But Rachel was originally played by Katie Holmes in Batman Begins. In this version, she's played by Maggie Gyllenhaal. I would honestly argue that she was better. She was a more interesting character, and she was a very strong presence. That party scene, I think, is my favorite scene with her, where she literally stands up to the Joker. And the Joker was like, oh, you're a feisty little one, aren't you? And then it leads to one of my favorite handheld fight scenes in the movie. And Batman comes in and he's like, then you're not going to like this one. Like,
yeah.
Then
I love it when he says, he's like, let her go. It's like, oh, that was a poor choice of words. Like,
oh, so great. So great. I love that. You don't want to hurt the kid, Harvey.
Yeah.
Like, what's your opinion on the voice? Like, I know there's a lot of people that find it distracting, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it.
I think, I mean, it's what's a different way to conceal yourself, right? Because I mean, you could go the Superman, like, oh, you know, pair of glasses, and all of a sudden I'm Clark Kent, right? So that's just it's too far. I mean, I guess if you have to suspend your disbelief, where, you know, a universe where people have superpowers, it's fine to just be like, well, a pair of glasses can hide your identity. But you know, he's around all these people that I mean, I guess they don't see the super billionaire day in, day out, so they're not going to know him by just the bottom half of his face. But I think it's, you know, a pretty. I don't mind the voice. I see why they did it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets a little goofy. You know, because it's not consistent. Sometimes it's a little more akin to his normal speaking voice, and then sometimes you just with like the lips, kind of like I feel like he inspired Kylie Jenner to do the lip challenge, where he's just like, what, you know, like.
It's almost like the opening of Rocky Horror. It makes me think of, but yeah, I totally agree with you. The voice, as I said in an earlier video, it is inherently silly. There's no getting around that. But, like, why wouldn't he do that voice? Like, the Joker is always asking him to unmask, so the Joker's easier to find. But Batman can't do that. He can't really reveal his secret identity to put the people he loves in danger, or whoever he has left to love. But anyway, it's like the voice kind of had to be there. Because, like, if he just talked with his normal voice, it would just totally give it away.
I mean, I feel like it, you know, kind of makes him sound a little more or the aim was to make him sound a little more mysterious, a little more threatening, dark, gritty, right? Insert a bunch of synonyms here. But yeah, I think, you know, it achieves what it was meant to do. It's not. Could there have been a better voice? Maybe. In fact, there's a comedy skit with Pete Holmes, I want to say, this comedian who it's he tries to go through. He works with this or just some crook, a thug guy, and he holds him, and he's going over the voices, like, and the crook is giving him feedback. I'm like, oh no, that one was a little too silly, and it's just really funny. If you haven't seen it, look it up on Google.
Oh, definitely.
But yeah, eventually he lands on the, you know, where's Rachel kind of thing, and it's just, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I love the voice though. It's just like, and we'll talk about it in a little bit on the podcast. But it's as far as the movie goes, I mean, the action scenes and the direction and the camera work, this is a beautiful, beautiful looking movie. If a superhero movie could be called beautiful back then, I mean, you have the Raimi Spider-Man movies that came out, but I don't even think they reached this level. These were so amazing. Christopher Nolan directed the shit out of this movie. I don't have any qualms with saying that. The writing, spot on. The action scenes in this movie, oh man. I mean, they were more frequent than Batman Begins, and I actually think that made the movie better, in all honesty. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I absolutely love the tone, right? Just the way that the tone progresses throughout the film is great. Visually, it's stunning, like you said. Just the lighting and how the during like the chase scenes when they're transporting Harvey Dent, how they just use the street lights to give this like gloomy ambiance.
Yep.
I love it. But yeah, the action scenes, yeah, they're amazing. That one in particular where they flip over that semi truck, you know what I mean? That's just the effects are super cool. The explosions, like in the Gotham General Hospital. Yeah, I love all the fight scenes, and I like how in the beginning they have him, you know, being this like sluggish fighter where, you know, he's getting bitten he's getting bit by these Rottweilers, and then he goes to Lucius Fox and wants, you know, like a faster, more agile kind of outfit, and then he's just, you know, kung fuing away.
Kung fuing away.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the fight scenes are great.
I love them. Yeah, and the parking garage sequence that you were just referring to, where they're transporting Harvey Dent in the SWAT truck, I believe. Hans Zimmer's score, by the way, magnificent as well. It's so grand. It can be so gritty at times. Hans Zimmer just gets the tone just right. I don't know if you noticed, but that whole fight scene, you would think that there'd be this big, exciting blast of music through that whole thing. Not a peep out of the score. It was just quiet. They just let the gunfight and the driving and the street lights, all natural. They let all those sounds do the work. And I honestly, just thinking about it, this movie is perfect. It's, I mean, do you have any nitpicks with this?
At first I was a little torn about, but this is, I guess it's just a personal thing. I don't like when, like, if I'm talking about the switch between, the switch to Maggie Gyllenhaal as Rachel Dawes. I just have I don't like it when actors change between movies, because it kind of takes me out of the universe, right? And especially when there's like I mean, it's kind of hard to integrate an explanation so it doesn't seem kind of kooky, or, you know, it's hard to write it in, right? Totally. But when there's just no, like, even a wink kind of nod to the people that know, you know, the audience that knows, it just kind of takes me out of it. But, you know, I get that it's hard to schedule actors or whatever. It wasn't a decision that was made deliberately. It was kind of a reaction to some outside stuff. But yeah, like you said, Maggie did a pretty decent job. So it wasn't like it was a bad move. It was just, I don't know, it kind of takes me out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, there's not a whole lot to nitpick. The acting is great. The pacing of the storyline is great. The cinematography, just the visual lighting and all those aspects of the movie are fantastic. And yeah, the score, you mentioned in that scene, I think that the absence of like strings or whatever, and having it just be the gunfire and the explosions, that is the score, right? So
yeah,
it's not silence. It's just, it's a fight score, or you know, it's an action scene score.
It's a different kind of score. I love that. It's, oh man. Honestly, yeah, you make a really great point. I think that's kind of what took me out of even like the first Avengers movie. You remember they switched from Edward Norton to Mark Ruffalo as the Incredible Hulk. So, I mean, this one, I mean, no disrespect to Rachel Dawes as a character, but it didn't really like distract me as much, like to that extent, like the Hulk transformation did to Mark Ruffalo. And I'm just like, oh, okay, that's just Edward Norton again. But honestly, yeah, this movie, acting spot on. Heath Ledger's the Joker. I mean, he was awarded an Oscar posthumously, Best Supporting Actor. I believe this is Heath Ledger, rest in peace. This is your best performance, in my opinion. Christian Bale, once again, magnificent. Great direction. Just an amazing, amazing ride. I'm going to give The Dark Knight an A+, my highest grade. What do you think you would give it?
I mean, I'd give it an A++, but not the Dark Knight.
Yeah. Hey, oh, absolutely. If I could give it an A++, you know, I'm just like, I'll just do A+. But yeah, no, this is an amazing movie. If you haven't seen it already, please be sure to check it out. Hey there, guys, me again. Just wanted to say thank you to Roberto sincerely and to Alex as well for joining me on the show the other night. It was a ton of fun. And like I said, I'll leave a link to the entire podcast down in the description below. But thank you guys so much for watching the video and keeping up with the Christopher Nolan series. Look out at this time next week for my review of The Dark Knight Rises. And be sure to leave a like on this video if you're enjoying what you're seeing. And if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as hard as you possibly can on your way out. You guys are seriously the best. Thank you so much for your support of the channel so far. It means the world. And with all that being said, back talk, commence.